Hello. It is 5:02 p.m. and I just like stopped working. I'm actually like not done working. There's still like so much garbage I have to do, but I've been working since like 8 in the morning and it is the 31st of March and I feel like I am like overdue both a February and March check-in on this channel and I just need a break. So we're gonna take a pause from work to like check in with myself, check in with you guys, reassure everybody that I am still alive and out here, and also give you guys an update on my student loan payments for February and March. So without any further ado, let's get it. Okay, so I think maybe what I'll do is I'll give you guys like a brief little update about how like February and March went for me in terms of like life in general, and then also in terms of my no-buy year. And then we'll get into like the finances of it all. I think from my intro, you are hopefully able to glean the fact that like work has been really overwhelming for me lately. I'm honestly like kind of a little bit grateful for it. I don't really know how to express this. Like I haven't really fully fleshed out this thought, but I feel like because I had undiagnosed ADHD and also like depression and anxiety for like a really long time, and I felt like I was failing miserably at life because I just like felt crappy all the time, and I was also like failing courses at university for a really long time and just like really on the struggle bus academically with all sorts of like academic metrics. I was just kind of experiencing years and years of failure. They built up a sort of narrative in my head that I like am a failure, that I'm not a like talented or capable or hardworking person. And so like, why would anybody ever want to work with me, hire me, because I'm like a slacker, a burden, an inconvenience? That was like the sort of narrative that I had built up for years inside my head. And yes, I did go to therapy a lot, and my therapist and I spent a lot of time trying to like unpack all of that negative self-talk and deconstruct how maybe that was a lie. But the fact is, like, when you're sitting in your therapist's office and she's telling you that like, yes, you really are a hard worker and you are talented and you're not a dumbass, like that doesn't mean very much. Or at the very least, it didn't mean very much to me, because I was like, no, you don't know me in my real life. Maybe I seem cool to you sitting here in like the therapist couch, but in real life, like I'm a total failure and a wreck and a total lazy slacker, and I'm just like a flaky and terrible person. You cannot rely on me to do any work done. You shouldn't trust me to get anything done. I'm not like smart or hardworking or talented enough to get things done in my real life, and I think you just have a messed up idea of me because you're my therapist, and honestly, like I'm paying you to talk to me. So like basically I've just had like very little faith in myself that I could ever be like a contributing member of any sort of team. And because of that sort of like, I guess, inferiority complex, I guess for lack of a better term, that I've had, my perspective on suddenly having like a billion things to do at work is like, I'm almost grateful for it. Because the thing is, like, when I was hired for my job, I was initially hired just to work on like 2 projects. I wasn't being given very much responsibility, which makes sense because I was like a new person on the team. I was also like the least qualified person on my entire team. Like I'm the only person at the place where I work who just has an undergrad, right? Like almost everybody else has like a master's in public health or health sciences or something like that. And so my newer status, as well as slightly lower qualification, meant that people were, I think, a little bit tentative with trusting me to do things. And then I also felt like I had a chip on my shoulder. I was like, no, I have to like prove that I am like good enough to be in this room with these really smart people, given that I just have like a bachelor's degree, right? But as time has passed and as my like teammates and bosses have started increasingly giving me more and more work and I've been able to deliver it, it's been this like really good positive feedback loop where it's like both they and I are like, oh wait, no, like Prachi, you're actually like a good contributing member of the team. Your presence here is like noted. You are not a waste of like time and space and energy. And actually, you know what? I don't want to put like words into my coworkers or boss's mouths because I'm sure like none of them ever thought of me in such like cold calculating terms. I was the one like really putting myself down like that. But what's been fascinating is that like October, November, December, it was like I was building trust with all of my like peers and teammates and bosses. And the end result of that has been that while I initially joined on just 2 public health projects, there are now like 3 or 4 other projects that are requesting that I like join them and do things for them. So on the one hand, I'm like, my workload is kind of crazy and I have to do a lot of stuff now. I'm being given a lot more responsibility in a lot more like arenas. And I do kind of feel like overwhelmed SpongeBob meme, but on the flip side, I'm like grateful for it because it's like, oh, I am actually like a useful and contributing member of my team. To me, it feels like a reward and it feels like validation, and I'm like trying to balance not getting too swept up in that feeling that I like burn myself out. Is it the best thing in the world to like tie up your self-worth with your work? Probably not. I think we can all admit that if our like self-worth is tied into a bunch of external things, that's like a little bit dangerous for us, but that's a problem for future me, right? Like I don't have the bandwidth to try and unpack all of that right now because like life is really kicking my ass in a whole bunch of other ways. So that's everything that's been going on work-wise, and I feel like I've spent so long talking about it that you must be like, oh, all Prachi did during like February and March was like work, that's why she didn't have time to make videos. But the real reason why I didn't have time to make videos is because towards the end of February and the start of March, my mother and I, we drove up to Boston to meet my baby nephew, who's like barely 2 months old. And on the very same day that we went up to go meet him and we saw him for the very first time, right? This like brand new little baby who's like just arrived into this world. My mother's best friend passed away of cancer. She was like my mom's second sister. She was like an aunt to me. Like we used to joke that I would call her Rukhsana Khala, which is the term that you use in Pakistan to address your mother's actual sister. And she had been battling cancer for a really, really long time. And unfortunately, like quite a few people who are dealing with really, really aggressive cancer treatments, it wasn't the cancer itself that killed her, it was her suppressed immune system that made her catch some sort of a respiratory infection, and she unfortunately stopped breathing and she passed away. And so in this sort of like really perverse and messed up way, on the same day that we were celebrating like the entrance of a new life into this world, we also had to deal with like the immense grief of her passing. And Ramadan is starting tomorrow, and it's just like, it's really weird to process that holiday without her there. You know, like I came down the stairs today and my mom was like sitting on the couch, and I opened my mouth to ask my mother what Rukhsana Auntie's plans were for Ramadan. And like the words almost came out of my mouth before I suddenly remembered that she had passed. So it's been like really weird trying to like process all of that. It's obviously been like 100 times worse for my mother. She was my mother's best friend. They talked every single day. They used to call each other like Meri Jaan, which literally means my life in Urdu. And so it's just been like, it's been a rough time. Also, her ex-husband is like a piece of hot garbage. I need every single person watching this video to send him your worst fucking vibes. Like just do it. The evilest eye, all of the nazar, like cast a curse on this man, because what kind of like miserable piece of hot garbage cheats on his wife after she's been diagnosed with cancer? Like I want all of us right here, right now to just send him our like worst fucking energy. Like I want karma to come for this man, because beyond the whole cheating thing, he was also like a physically and verbally abusive man. So everybody watching this, please send this man your stankiest eye, like all of the nazar, the evil eye, the cursed energy in the world that you possess, because I hope he gets what's coming for him. Like I hope he never knows another moment of peace for the entire rest of his life. So yeah, March has been like a insane cocktail of like grief and rage, and also like insane joy, because thankfully my mother and I, we had already like planned an entire trip with our whole family where we were like meeting up in Minneapolis with my aunt and uncle. My sister and her fiance were also going to show up because they both have like March birthdays, and then my stepdad is also born in March. And so we all kind of met up in Minneapolis at my aunt and uncle's house, and we spent like a full week together. And I'm so grateful that we had all of that time spent around family, because it reminded us that although we like lose people, there are also still people left behind who care about us, and that like life kind of goes on, and you have to like find ways to move forward and still like celebrate the small joys in life, like somebody's birthday, or like planning outfits for my sister's wedding in October, and all of that kind of stuff. And so yeah, it has been on a personal level a really, really overwhelming March, and then it has also been on a professional level a really, really overwhelming February and March. And I will say there was this like moment in March, like it was like last weekend, where I just like, I felt so overwhelmed by everything that I spent the entire weekend just watching like YouTube videos. It was like this weird obsessive thing where I could not stop watching eyeshadow palette reviews. I watched every single possible Pat McGrath palette review I could find on anybody who was vaguely my skin tone. I also watched a bunch of Natasha Denona pastel palette reviews, the Melt Cosmetics Amor y Mariposas palette, the Uoma Beauty palettes. Like, I was like hyper fixated on watching like reviews, and not just reviews, but like these really like complex, ornate looks that people were putting together out of eyeshadow palettes. And you know, by like Sunday afternoon, after having done that for like an entire weekend, I was actually like really tempted to go buy something, and I kept going on the Sephora website and adding palettes to my cart and like nearly checking out. But thank God that like, one, I'm like not logged into Sephora on my computer, and two, I don't remember the password for it because I had like changed it to let my sister access my account, and so like the password wasn't easily accessible. I would have to like go look through my WhatsApp history to like figure out what the hell I'd changed the password to. And then three, I don't really have my credit card information like saved on my laptop anywhere. And honestly, I think those mini hurdles that I put for myself are probably the only reason why I did not like fuck up and break my entire no buy, because those moments forcibly created a pause where I was able to kind of be like, let's take a moment to sort of like unpack how helpful really buying a $70 palette by Melt Cosmetics would be right now to your life. In what ways would it make you feel better? The answer to which is dopamine hit. That's really it. That's the only way in which it's gonna really make me feel better. And in what ways would it maybe make you feel even worse once you realize that you've, one, broken your no buy, two, you have some like random extra eyeshadow palette that you don't even have the space to store because your makeup storage is like bonkers right now. It's overflowing. I don't know how anything fits together. I haven't known how anything fits together since I moved to Baltimore. Like, I haven't been able to organize everything well at all. So like, this palette is also going to add like a bunch of physical clutter. It is a big palette. It's not some like tiny little quad. And three, it's not a cheap palette either. It is $70 USD, which is like 80 to 90 Canadian dollars that you could be putting towards your student loan. So having those little like stoppage points where I really had to like put in effort to try and buy the palette, it was crucial to allowing me to kind of talk myself down from making a dumb decision. But I will say, like, in all honesty, with the exception of that one weekend where I was just like, I wanted to shut the entire world out and I was just kind of like trying to escape into makeup land, I really like, I haven't had time to think about like makeup and skincare and just buying stuff like at all, really. It hasn't been at the forefront of my mind, and so for the rest of the past 2 months, I will say, like, I don't feel like I've been particularly challenged on my no buy year. So yeah, that's how my February and March has been going. I don't know how helpful or reflective that really was. I definitely know that it is more helpful and reflective than anything that I would have been able to film throughout the actual month of March. Like, I think if I had tried to film a February check-in that first week of March when I was like really fucking going through it, I don't think anything good would have come out of that. Because at that moment in time, I feel like life was still in the progress of like heavily kicking my ass, you know? And I feel like when you're getting your ass beat, like, that's not the appropriate time to be like, what lessons am I learning from this ass whooping? What nuggets of like wisdom and learning am I getting out of this experience? Right? And I feel like right now on March 31st, like today, I feel like the fight is like beginning to wind down. You know, I don't feel like I'm in the thick of it as much as possible. And so there's a little bit of room to step back and be like, oh, what is going on? Like, what's happening here? I'm not arrogant enough to be like, I'm out of the woods, you guys. Like, we're all in the clear. So maybe I will have like more thoughts on my experience throughout February and March, like as we move through the month of April. But whatever I was able to muster up for this check-in, I hope it was coherent and it made sense for you. So now let's move away from all of that like emotional stuff and talk about some like good news on the student loan payment front. When I started off this year, there was a smaller student loan that was $1,697.46, and then there was like a big mama student loan that was like $31,573.94. And I started off on February 1st with a loan amount of $32,292.03. And throughout the course of February, I ended up paying $2,281.91 towards my student loans. So my ending amount for the month of February was $30,010.12. And the big achievement that I made in February is that that smaller part-time student loan that was like roughly $1,700 that I had at the start of the year, I completely paid it off during the month of February. So now I no longer have like two different student loans that I'm juggling, this like $1,700 one and this like big mama $30,000 one. I just have the big mama left. So at the start of March, my one remaining student loan was for the amount of $30,010.12. And throughout the month of March, I have paid off exactly $2,000 of my student loans. So there is an automatic payment every month of $281.91 that goes out. And then I also, earlier this week, put an additional payment of $1,718.09 so that there's a flat $2,000 payment. So when the Canadian National Student Loan Service Center finally ends up processing my payment, because there's like a couple days of a lag between when the money is withdrawn from my bank account and when the like system actually is like, yeah, we've applied it to your student loan, look at this. When that processing period is finally over, my student loan amount will be $28,010.12. I don't know about y'all, but that feels like huge to me, because to have started off the year with like a loan amount in the 30,000s, like it was 33,000 at the start of the year, and to now be in like the 20,000s, like that feels incredible to me. I'm like, oh wow, like I'm really doing it. Like the number is really, really going down, you know? And because I was kind of curious, I wanted to look at kind of like, well, from Jan 1st of this year to today, March 31st of this year, how much of my student loans have I paid off? And the total amount that I've put towards my student loan so far this year is $5,261.28. That is not too shabby, folks. So that's everything on the student loan front to pay. We're in the 20,000s now, y'all. So very excited for me. I'm very much so feeling like a fiscally responsible adult. Fuck, I just realized I haven't done taxes. Okay, feeling less like a fiscally responsible adult because I can't believe I nearly forgot taxes. They're due in like 2 weeks. But whatever. It is, according to my laptop, 6 p.m. now, which means I have spent an hour's break in front of the camera chatting. So I'm gonna wrap this up now, grab myself a snack, and then go back to work. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing upcoming week. And even if the rest of your week is messy or imperfect, I hope you're still able to experience some truly beautiful moments. Thanks for watching. Bye!